Yo, what up, everybody? It's P-Sci. Today we're going to be doing a quick deck profile. If you don't play Yu-Gi-Oh!, the children's card game, you can just click away from the video. This is not for your eyes. But if you do, I want to tell you guys about how I got third place at a locals of about like 24 people playing pure Zoodiac. So let's just get into it really quick. There are a lot of changes that I want to make, but I did make this deck on the fly. I did have the core put together before I decided to enter the tournament. I just wanted to play something different than my normal Lightsworn zombie plant engine deck that I have. Because I can never seem to place with that deck. But I ended up using Zoo, and I ended up doing pretty well. So first is Zoodiac whiptail. Without Trident and Broadbow, you need to basically control your opponent. And the best way to do that is to banish their monsters. So 3 whiptail is amazing. Thoroughblade, he's really good too. Because of his summon effect. You can normal or special summon it and it gets its effect. So you just discard one of your zoo monsters, Zoodiac combo even, the trap card, and then you get to draw a card, which is awesome, so you can draw into your other traps. So it even works off of getting it to the field through Barrage. And then to finish the Zoodiac lineup for the main deck, Zoodiac ramram. I don't play Rat. People were confused because you normal summon Rat. It's at 1, so you can only use 1, and you can pitch any Zoodiac card to the graveyard, which can set up your chakanine and your tigermortar. But I mean, there's other ways to get zoo monsters in the graveyard, and I just don't think it's worth it. But ramram is amazing for mid game. You just bring it back with chakanine and pop it with Barrage. So, and you just accrue a bunch of advantage, just like the old times. Next monster in the lineup is one Effect Veiler. I would definitely bump this up, but as of the tournament, I only had one, and it actually did come in clutch a couple times. In certain situations, it's just as good as Ash, because sometimes the monster effects are what you want to negate, and it worked out for me. I saw this once in tournament, and it drew me 1 card, but I mean, if I had faced someone that would actually special summon some stuff, it would be good. But there is synergy with Mrs. Radiant. It's Earth. If I already used it and Mrs. Radiant dies, then I get it back to my hand, which is pretty awesome. But usually you're getting whiptail back to your hand. And that's it for the monsters. Next is Triple Barrage. They didn't hit this in the TCG. They only hit it in the OCG. So you can run 3 of this still, and it's still an amazing card. It's just amazing to see such an amazing card go from like $100 to just $1 now, which is why I can play it. Next for spells is Triple Fire Formation Tenki. This is your Broadbow. This can search anything in the deck, and then it stays on the field and boosts your guys by 100, which actually comes in handy sometimes. It also baits Ash Blossom. I think that it did get ashed. And then you just activate your Pot of Desires. This deck is 45 cards, so I just play Triple Desires because this is, like many other decks, of 1-card engines, like 1-card starter. You basically only need 1 card to start your plays, and it's just important to get to those cards. And you'll see why later in the main deck, why you just want to draw as much as possible. Next is this card. It's amazing. It did see play back when Zoo was the meta. You basically, if you have nothing on board, you activate your Shuffle Reborn and reborn one of your zoo monsters. And the clause that it gets banished at the end phase doesn't matter because you're just going to immediately overlay with it. My Shuffle Reborn once in tournament was Chainlink 1 to maxx's Chainlink 2. So unfortunately, I didn't want to give my opponent any more cards. I was facing Cyber Dragons for that match, and I ended up just stopping on my whiptail and just attacking directly for 12. And then at the end phase, it was banished, unfortunately. But another really cool play with this is its secondary effect to banish it from grave and shuffle a card. on your side of the field into the deck and draw one. That is just amazing for just recycling anything. Like, just think about all the possibilities of what you can shuffle back from your field into your deck and then draw one. Like, it's just insane. You do have to banish one from your hand, though, but you usually don't have a hand because you're amazing. This I would definitely bump up higher. Scapegoat, it came in clutch. You just make Mrs. Radiance all day. If you have the money for Boarload and Firewall, you can do that too, but I don't. Only 2 Cosmic Cyclone in the main. This actually came in amazing. I drew both of these against my first matchup, Trickstars, or Trickstars rather. And he said that he was actually, I ended up winning that match. He said he actually won a regional, or not won a regionals, topped a regional with that very Trickstar deck that I beat with this Zoo deck that I just threw together. But Cosmic Cyclone came in clutch because I banished his Dark Room of Nightmare. I know he was playing Dark Room of Nightmare. And then his field spell, and that really helped out. And it also helped out in my Invoked matchup against the field spell and his Invocation, because he could not recur that Invocation back from the banished zone. So that actually did matter. Next is one of my spicy techs, XYZ Energy. This basically helps you get your Zoodiac monsters into the graveyard. So you summon your Zoo monster, then you overlay into like hammerkong or boarbow, and then you overlay into another one. Then you activate XYZ Energy, you detach for cost, then your chakanine is live, and you get to pop one of your opponent's monsters. It's really good for going second. So you're going to want to side one out when you're going first. Next, this actually came in amazing. I always drew it. I only played one, though. I might side some more just in case my opponent reveals that they have a lot of board wipes. But I had this face down, and my opponent Kaiju slumbered, and I was like, my body as a shield. And that basically won me the game because that was their last ditch effort in beating me. I think that was game 3 against the Trickster player. Then the one-ofs for spells. Mind Control. This card is broken in this format. It's at 1 for a reason. You can't tribute the monster or attack with it the turn that you take it, and it goes back to your opponent during the end phase. But that doesn't prevent you from using it to link summon. I, unfortunately, was not playing any generic links in my extra deck, and that did cost me a little bit. But still, stealing an opponent's monster is amazing. You just have to run like at least one Proxy Dragon or something like that in your extra deck so you can actually use whatever you stole from them so they don't get it back at the end phase. And then Dark Hole is next. This is just a nice board wipe. If I had a Raigeki, I'd play it. And then finally, my common Soul Charge, because you can just get so many cards in your grave, and then a well-timed Soul Charge is on the level of Scapegoat, where you can just throw a Mrs. Radiant, and then you can have 2 Zoo monsters on board, and you can build their attack up by attaching materials from your graveyard. It's pretty nice. All right, next is the traps. 2 Zoodiac combo. I ended up siding one of these out almost every game. It's weird. It is really nice discarding it off of a special summon Thoroughblade. But with the amount of Zoo monsters you're playing, getting off the secondary effect is not that common because usually the games are over by the time you have 5 different Zoo names in grave. But still, the first effect to attach a whiptail from deck to the monster is amazing, so that's why I was playing it at 2. Floodgate Traphole, this is amazing. You just, if they're not using their links right away and they put their extra deck monster, like an XZs or something in the extra deck zone, you just Floodgate Traphole them, and unless they contact fuse or something, then they're not playing the game. This is, basically where you can tell like some of the similarities with the previous Zoo. It's trap heavy because all you need is one card to start building up a monster that can do several different things. 3 Storming Mirrorforce. This is amazing. My opponent had a board full of links and a Macabre. He already used his Macabre effect. Not that he had any traps in hand anyway. So Storming Mirrorforce just put all that back. One rocket hand. I was playing two. I might drop this completely. I mean, it's kind of a replacement for Trident, but the thing is, you have to set it one turn, and then the next turn you're able to flip it and then make the monster gain 800 attack, and then you can't even use the popping effect till the next turn. So it's you wait 3 turns basically to be able to pop face up cards, and there's just so many other. I mean, sure it's a quick effect, but there's other better ways to do that, and there is synergy, obviously, with the deck, because when you use this effect, the monster's attack becomes 0 permanently. You would just use it on a zoo monster and then overlay immediately after you use its popping ability. It'll never replace Trident, and I'm thinking of cutting it. One Lost Wind, because I was unable to pick up a second one until after the tournament was over. But I'll definitely be bumping this up to 2. This card is amazing. So against my Cyber Dragon opponent, I had cited in Dimensional Barrier, so Chainlink 1 was his Infinity trying to absorb one of my monsters. Chainlink 2 was Lost Wind to negate its effects. Chainlink 3 was a Cyber Dragon Infinity to negate my Lost Wind. And Chainlink 4 was my Dimensional Barrier, and guess what? He ended up losing horribly because of that. Finally, the one-of traps. Macrocosmos, it did not come up at all, but obviously in other matches that I've had and in testing, it's amazing because you can pop it with your Cosmic Cyclone or your Barrage, which I actually did one game, so it actually did come in handy once because I needed a face-up card to pop that was not one of my monsters, and I flipped over my face-down Cosmic or Macrocosmos and popped it with my Barrage to special summon a Thoroughblade, but or was it a whiptail? I don't know. But it actually came in really handy, so that's that for that. But, I mean, obviously, this is super anti-meta, and it just stops anything that uses anything in the grave, which is basically everything in the game, including this deck. Then Torrential Tribute. It's really nice when they're going off in the middle of their combo, and then you just flip over Torrential Tribute, assuming that you have it set already, obviously, and just blow up the entire monster board. And then finally, Solemn Warning, it's just phenomenal. Because it's at 1, it's cheap, and I can put it in my deck. Ooh, look at it, so shiny. Alright, so let's go to the extra deck, I guess. 2 chakanine, because I only have 2. It's really good. It's basically a 1-card Mrs. Radiant if you have a zoo monster in grave. And if you have another way to get another one on board, then you can have a Mrs. Radiant with another zoo monster, which is always really good. It just brings back any zoo monster from grave. Triple tigermortar. This is how you basically build up your monster. I mean, because of this card, you can start off with a 32 beater that does piercing, or a 28 beater because of whiptail and thoroughblade. You can have your you can have it banish things with whiptail if you need it. I mean, I've used whiptail to crash into things just to banish a problem card from my opponent, and it really paid off. 3 boarbow, because you just need stuff to fill your grave and overlay, and the attacking directly actually comes in clutch a lot. Because, I mean, if your opponent builds a board that you can't really get over, but their life is low enough, you can start to chip away at them. Because in one turn, if you have the proper grave setup, like mid-game, you can set your boarbow up to be, you know, like I said earlier, 28 or even 3,200 attack power. And that's just with 2 materials. I mean, even later game, like, you can get it even higher. Rounding off the zoos is 2 hammerkong. I don't really... He's just filler, just to get more materials. I'm usually overlaying first with this, and then overlaying again with something else so I can detach hammerkong. Because it's just... I feel it's the worst one. We're not in a format where there's a lot of targeting, at least not at the locals that I was at, I feel. So you have to detach at the end phase, every end phase. So I mean, it's just a waste. It's just like a filler card that just goes in between. So I ran 2 of those. Triple Mrs. Radiant, because Mrs. Radiant's amazing in this deck, and I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I wish I had run other links though. And then finally, 2 cards that I did not go into at all: Bagooska and Castell. This was just for problem cards, and then this is just a walking skill drain. But it just never came up. The Zoo engine is fine by itself. And then I had a pretty interesting side deck. Abyss Dweller, I never went into it. It was just in case I faced someone like maybe Burning Abyss or something like that. The second Rocket Hand, I never put that in my deck. A nice spicy tech, Different Dimension Ground to supplement my Macrocosmos, but it never came up. Triple Rivalry of Warlords, it also never came up, but everything in your deck is basically Beast Warrior, so this doesn't affect you at all, but it can affect a lot of other decks, especially Lightsworn. I know. I've played against it. Dimensional Barrier. This actually came in a lot. I want to say every game, possibly, because it's amazing. The third Cosmic Cyclone. This came in for Trickstars. Trickstars. Mistake. I put it in, but I didn't see it. Against... Who was drawing a lot? I think it was the Invoked player. But, yeah, I didn't see it. Book of Moon, I feel, is really good because it's a quick play, so you can even play it on your turn to flip a problem monster face down if you need to. And on your opponent's turn, if they just summon something that's going to kill you, you can just flip it face down. 2 Heavy Storm Dusters. This is pretty good, but I didn't see it. You basically pop 2 for free. Which is really good if you're playing against a lot of back row. And then finally, for the 15th card, 1 Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode, but I never sided in because I never went up against someone that was building a spiral link board or anything like that. I mean, the matchups were pretty good. I went against Trickster first. And then I lost to the Invoked player, and then finally I beat the Cyber Dragon player, and I ended up getting third because I got the bye for the last round, but I still count it as a victory. I got my packs, and I didn't pull anything good, but still, it was a lot of fun, and I managed to actually beat some people with a Zoodiac deck, so yeah, that's the deck.